What if I told you that a person can spend his whole life trying to be good enough and still never escape the shadow of racism? What if a child grows up believing that his smile, his clothes, his perfectly practiced manners might protect him, only to learn that none of it really matters? This is the true story of a man who tried to blend in, tried to be accepted, tried to be one of the good ones. But the world kept reminding him, you are different, you are marked, you cannot outrun who you are. This is the story of Brian Jones, an educator, an activist, and a man who, without realizing it, spent most of his life fighting a battle he never chose. And somewhere along the way, he began a revolution. I am a black man who grew up in the United States, and I know, deeply, personally, how discrimination feels. Yet, as a light-skinned, middle-class black man, I also knew something else. Many people had it far worse than me. Many still do. I grew up around a lot of white people. In elementary school, I remember the first time a classmate gave me a compliment that didn't feel like one. "You're one of the good ones." At first, I didn't know why my chest tightened when I heard it, why the air suddenly felt heavy, why the words stung. It took years to understand that this wasn't praise, this was a warning, a division between me and the so-called bad ones I was being separated from. And if I'm honest, the comment was true by America's standards. I was good. Light skin, middle-class clothes, polite speech patterned after the white mainstream. But even then, even as a child, I was learning a painful truth. No amount of assimilation saves you from racism. Throughout my life, something, my hair, my tone, my attitude, would suddenly label me inferior. In elementary school, I had the constant sense that my teachers disliked me. I got in trouble often, sometimes for things too small to remember. One teacher even wrote on my report card, "amoral," a word a child should never have to see attached to his name. But in third grade, something extraordinary happened. My first black teacher, Mrs. Brooks, walked into my life. She didn't see me as a problem. She didn't mind if I squirmed in my seat. She encouraged us to read poetry from the Black arts movement, to understand racism, to recognize injustice. The world felt different in her classroom, warmer, fairer, possible. As I grew older, I began noticing how my mother saw racism almost everywhere. She was vigilant, always ready to protect me from discrimination. At the time, I thought she was exaggerating, overreacting, maybe even paranoid. But she saw things I didn't. Once, I wasn't chosen to deliver a speech during the middle school assembly. I didn't think much of it, but my mother did. She called the school, demanded a reason, and insisted that I be given the same opportunity as everyone else. And because of her fight, I had to stand in front of the entire school and give a speech. Back then, I felt embarrassment. Now, I feel gratitude. Teenage years bring a new kind of confusion. I began to wonder about love, how people found it, how people chose each other. Movies and TV told me love belonged to the rich, the perfect, the white. I was none of those things, so I worried. Like many young black people, I learned the unwritten rule. You have to be twice as good to get half as much respect. My blackness became the most noticeable thing about me, even to other students. One classmate made a sport out of mocking my curly, kinky hair. He was creative with his jokes, creative enough to get entire groups laughing, enough to send me home in tears through freshman and sophomore year. Then came the day that changed everything. One morning, one of the few black students at our school opened his locker and inside hung a noose, a symbol of terror, a threat, a message from America's darkest past. They found the culprit quickly, a white student. And his punishment? A weak apology, a shrug, a boys will be boys dismissal. I was furious, absolutely furious. This wasn't a prank. This was hatred. So I convinced my best friend to wear black armbands with me, a silent protest. I expected respect, or at least understanding, but instead ridicule, mockery, laughter. Even teachers joined in. One teacher smirked and said, "Look at Jones, starting a revolution." They meant it as a joke, but those words would follow me for years. After that, survival meant blending in, not provoking, not appearing dangerous. I became so practiced at being non-threatening that I stopped reacting to racism entirely, at least when it happened to me. I learned how to enter a store, make eye contact, smile, say hello. A gesture that meant, I'm harmless, I'm not stealing anything. I learned not to carry books into a bookstore, not to walk around with unsealed bags, not to move in ways that could be misinterpreted. And even today, a middle-aged man with a graying beard, I still do these things. I still walk into stores with the subconscious urge to prove that I'm not a threat. Decades of conditioning carved into muscle memory. But eventually, something shifted. I realized that no matter how good I tried to be, no matter how much I assimilated, my fate was tied to those considered bad. The world doesn't separate us. We are judged together. We rise together. We fall together. At some point in my adulthood, I understood something profound. The world as it is unacceptable, and a better world is not only possible, it is necessary. My struggles weren't the worst, they weren't the most dramatic, but they were part of something much larger. I found inspiration in unexpected places. From Eugene V. Debs, a white socialist from the early 20th century, who said, "While there is a lower class, I am in it. While there is a criminal element, I am of it. While there is a soul in prison, I am not free." And from Malcolm X, who demanded not charity, not pity, but human rights. Malcolm said black people wanted only one thing: to walk with their heads up, like men and women. Two men from different worlds, yet somehow carrying the same torch. Growing up black in America gives you something few people talk about: a second sight, a deeper understanding of how society works and who it works for. W.E.B. Du Bois called it double consciousness, a blessing and a curse. Black history, I've learned, carries a message for all humanity. As Alicia Garza says, the kind of equality black people need to be free is the kind of equality that will free everyone. And so I write this not just as a black man, but as someone who knows the white American world too. There is ignorance there, yes, but there is also struggle, pain, fear, human suffering. I'm grateful to my parents, my teachers, my community, the people who taught me to recognize injustice, to understand my experience, and to see beyond it. Because today, I am convinced of one thing: black liberation is human liberation. Our freedom is tied to everyone's freedom. Our struggle is tied to everyone's struggle. And that teacher who laughed and said, "Look at Jones, starting a revolution," had no idea how right she was. Because maybe, just maybe, I am.